Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine.
Durfing.
What is up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State representative on the College Huddle. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good chef, Andre Napier. Fireball Matt is feeling under the weather, I guess. I don't know, a week in Europe and Thanksgiving will probably do that to someone, but Chef is here. I am here. We've got rants, we've got mailbags, and we've got championship week locks that we're going to go through as well on this episode. So we'll see how long we make it, or if we decide to just cut locks and do that on our own. But before we get into the preview, we first want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. You know them, you love them, Anti-Maze Parlor. They're located at 616 at North 12th Street in Aggieville, the heart of Aggieville, if you will, right there smack dab at the intersection of 12th and Morrow. If you look at their website, antimaze.com, I'm actually looking at their list of events and I'm not seeing the list of events, but rest assured, the Christmas tree lighting, the annual Christmas tree lighting, I believe is happening this week as you're listening to this. So hopefully that website we can get up and running again. I'm just going to look up Anti-Maze just to confirm exactly when that event is, but that's like a big deal. That's a big deal for Anti-Maze, the Christmas tree lighting. I guess maybe it's not even a Christmas tree. It's just the Christmas lighting. 35th Christmas lighting with the Dirty Spoons. That is going to be on Thursday, December 4th, which is this Thursday. Just wanted to confirm I'm looking at the right year. Saw some stuff for 2024 there, but we're all squared away. But yeah, Dirty Spoons Christmas lighting, that's happening, the 35th annual, on Thursday, December 4th. But check them out. Craft cocktails, draft beers, everything you could possibly imagine or want. They've got it there. Live music, comedy, all sorts of other events. Check out their website, again, antimaze.com. They may get that fixed. They may not. We'll see. But just in case Jeff is listening, your website was down when we recorded this at 8:30 on Tuesday night, December 2nd. That's going to do it for the ad read. Chef, how was your Thanksgiving? I liked your spread. You looked like you had a good spread there.
You were one of the only few people that actually got a signature picture of the spread, and I had about 3 or 4 of those plates. So mind you, I was going, very hard for Thanksgiving. It hit in all the right places, if you will. But I love Thanksgiving, seeing family, people that you come around once in a while, and then friends and family. I love a good Friendsgiving as well. But hosted this year, was a real good time. Man, we killed it. We killed Thanksgiving. We loved it. Wish, sports was better to go along with this thing. Wish I was more thankful for that. Dang. I hope I didn't just cut out there.
You did for a little bit, but I heard sports. Sports were bad.
Sports ball.
Yeah, sports are bad right now, especially if you are a K-State fan, men's basketball fan, football fan, women's basketball fan. If you're a volleyball fan, you are set. You're looking pretty, despite the fact that the K-State women are going to be playing in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that ghost is coming back to haunt us yet again shortly after K-State men dropped their game to Nebraska and Kansas City a couple weeks ago. Still have some PTSD from that. I am going to be attending the K-State Creighton game in Omaha for the men's team, which 2 weeks ago when we played Nebraska was looking like it was going to be a pretty good matchup, and is now looking like it's not going to be a very good matchup between two teams that are now not looking very good in Ken Palmer, the net right now either. Creighton really slid recently, and they're probably going to build that back up a little bit. They've got a game against Nichols tonight that's happening as we're recording this, but Things are looking bad for the basketball team. I guess before we get into the mailbag, before we get into basketball, because I'm sure you and I both have some rants and not a whole lot of raves on the basketball side, but just want to give you a chance to maybe do a quick little post-mortem on the football team. I know we've still got a bowl game ahead. There's going to be a lot of decisions, transfer portal, commitment day, signing days tomorrow. So we're going to have a lot more to chat about probably next week once we get the bowl selection and commitments and all of that good stuff. Signees rather, not commitments, but anything to take away from the Colorado win, anything that you want to do to put a bow on the regular season, at least for the football team. And we've kind of already buried them for the most part as the season has gone on, but just take this time, take the mantle, and chat about football.
Well, the Colorado game in particular, I mean, I wasn't overly thrilled. The play calling, it was kind of a sum all of what happened throughout the season. It just, things came too little, too late. I mean, we won that game, but I mean, Colorado's bad. It was bad. Joe Jackson was a bright spot. Avery was very inconsistent, but he was down weapons. I mean, I didn't know Garrett Oakley was going to be out for this game. It's just little things like that. It added up throughout the season. And for this game in particular, we were down weapons, but some people stepped up. I was really impressed with parts of the O-line. I was really impressed with Joe Jackson, obviously. The young tight ends have a lot to, work with, but getting, your 5-star gem of a prospect in Lincoln Cure, he's not getting as many reps as I thought he would. Obviously, he burned his redshirt season, and I can't think of one highlight play from him other than him throwing an interception. But the Colorado game was a win that you needed, so it wasn't an absolute dumpster fire of a season. It was just a season that was a failure. And there was no signature wins on the season. It was one of those seasons where it's like, could things have changed with was it our one score luck? You know what I'm saying? Like we got some one score games last season, and this season we just fell short on every single one of them. So it was tough to see the season as a whole, but that Colorado game, at least you left on a dub. You left the dub.
Yeah.
Senior night, you get them a dub. So I can't complain about a win to an extent. I'm not satisfied with the season, but at least they didn't leave me with complete sour grapes.
Yeah, Joe Jackson was great. He definitely, over the last two games, is definitely the MVP of the Utah game and the Colorado game. Both of them, I think, in my opinion, he really shined. He's only 105 yards or something shy of 1,000-yard season now, which all of us were not thinking that was even going to be possible 3 games ago. So he's really been able to rack up the stats in the last 2 games, which is great. It's great to see K-State go back to more of that power run game that we really haven't seen all year. And you were one of the first and loudest people, I would say, in the K-State podcast sphere, media sphere, whatever you want to call it, when it came to at the beginning of the year, you were worried we were going to turn into a Texas Tech offense and a Matt Wells offense. And it really did turn into that. We didn't see a whole lot of that power run game. We didn't see a whole lot of even like quarterback power, quarterback run, which we've seen a lot through Snyder, through Kleiman to date. So it's good to see us return to some of that. It was good to see Avery pop off a couple big runs in the game against Colorado as well. So, I'm optimistic about the bowl game. Obviously, I'm not super excited about playing in Shreveport, Louisiana, probably against like a Louisiana Tech. But at the end of the day, this gives you one more opportunity to get another win, and hopefully Kleiman can shake this G5 boogeyman that he has against a G5 team, and it's looking like it might be that.
I hope my connection is good enough to get my thoughts out on this. But yes, I was very disappointed with what I could see the vision though, because K-State needed to start inching their way to a more modern style offense. And Matt Wells seemingly had that as his game plan. You need that to attract higher rated players. You need that to attract talent that you seemingly were trying to get. Because if you were trying to keep an Avery Johnson, you were trying to get a Lincoln Cure, running Snyder ball, or even, Connor Riley, as much as we wanted to give him gripe, he still threw the ball quite a bit, and it just wasn't the most visually appealing. But I'd rather have substance, and I'd rather fit the characteristics of this, program, of this university. And I think it goes a long way if you just stick with what mind you, it might not, it's a gamble. And a lot of people wanted to take that gamble. And I'm not here to, cast aspersions on any of those people, but when you gamble and you miss, you're going to lose it. So that's what happened this season, in my opinion. The defense also not that great this season. We couldn't handle mobile quarterbacks all that well. And I don't know if it's a Clanderman thing. I think it was obviously some of this personnel, a lot of injuries, bringing in new faces. We thought the DBs were outside of the safety room was going to be, questionable. And to a certain extent it was. VJ Payne had a regression season, unfortunately. Gunnar Maldonado was awesome towards the back half of the season, but it just took him so long to get there. And losing Austin Romaine hurt, losing Toby Osensami, who was, doing really, really well. These are things that build up to, an unsuccessful season, but you have to persevere through that. I am, what would I like to see going forward? I kind of is like what pops into my head about this, because I know we have a question in our mailbag about like maybe a letter grade, what we would provide for that letter grade. And in my opinion, it's about what you want for the future. Because if you think you can build on this season and, continue with that risk of trying to be that modern style offense, trying to recruit better athletes and have a more appealing thing, I think this was a C minus. It's a C minus season. I think an A gets us to Arlington. A B gets us 9 wins, 8 wins. And a C performance is maybe you win that Baylor game, but something along those lines. But this is the bottom of the barrel of a passing grade. Because it's not a failed season. It's not like we're 4-8 or something like that. We're 6-6. We had some squeaker losses. We also got the brakes blown, our doors blown in a couple times too. So it's not great, but it's not. It's not earth shattering. It's not program defining bad.
I would still say it's a failure compared to the expectations, which were valid expectations, because you had Brett McMurphy do the informal poll of all the coaches in the Big 12, and K-State was clearly the favorite by all the coaches to compete and win the Big 12 championship in Arlington for this season. Everybody in the outside media, the pollsters nationally, had K-State in that top 25. So I would say, compared to the expectations, it's absolutely a failure of a season. To your point, though, it's not the biggest failure of all. I went on Twitter after the Army game and did kind of a quick just video with my thoughts after that Army game or the North Dakota game, one of the two. And I'm like, this team is showing me they could go 3-9 or 4-8 right now. And they were pretty close to that. Like, there are some 1-score games, and if you don't pull out the win, if you don't win against TCU, if you don't win against Colorado or Oklahoma State, those are 3 games right there that were way, I would say, Colorado, maybe not TCU, but Colorado and Oklahoma State are 2 games that should not have been remotely close. but ended up being way closer than they ever should have been. K-State did not cover either of those spreads. So you weren't too far off from 4-8 at least when you look at those two games. You just happen to have the ball bounce the right way, and those are two really bad teams that you were able to outplay, but you still played pretty bad games against those two teams. But on the other side of it, climbing in these one-score games this season, K-State, for whatever reason, is losing all these one-score games. You lose the game to Army, you lose the game to Utah, you lose all these one-score games. Baylor, those are three that I can think of off the top of my head. You win those 3 one-score games, you're 9-3. All of a sudden, the Iowa State game, you're 10-2. So it's insane to think that the razor's edge margins this season, that this football team, I mean, you are that close to having a 10-2 season if the ball bounces the right way. If you just execute a couple of things correctly, like the Baylor game with the weird drive that they had, the interception, the passing plays that you're running within the two minutes in the fourth quarter of that game, blowing the 14-point lead, similar to the Utah game, you're blowing a lead there. Army game, it's just you don't possess the ball at all in the third quarter. Just ridiculous ways to lose those games. So it's just wild to think that you were really, I mean, the swing between 4-8 and 10-2 for this team this year is kind of wild.
And it you know what's even crazier? Yeah, I mean, you're missing one in there, and it's still a one-score game. It didn't feel like it, but Arizona was a 6-point
Arizona,
game.
yeah, totally. I mean, this season has felt like a year. So like Dublin, Ireland does not feel like it was in August. It felt like it was in March.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. The season flew by, and let me get to. I just want to talk to. We're just talking ball, really. I mean, I love just going back and forth. This recap of the season. Okay, the expectations. Yes, the expectations were high, but I think a lot of us went into the season, me included, with blinders on, and inevitably, what happened was. We were so enamored by the talent, you know, some of the experience, the pedigree of what we thought our coaching staff was, this, that, and the third. But we put our blinders onto the dynamics of what this season really is. Mind you, we give a home game away to go to Dublin, Ireland versus a rival, first game of the season. And the schedule matrix that we had, like it was doomed from the start. We're implementing a new defense. Why? Okay, that's fine. It is what it is. We're trying to fit personnel. We could justify why we're doing that. Defense has not been the main reason why we haven't been successful. Okay, we're implementing a new defense. Fine. We have a new offensive coordinator with a totally new style, juxtaposition of what Connor Riley was last year. And we expect that to just flip on its head and we're going to be fine. Then we have the scheduling matrix of Army after North Dakota. And then a short week going into Arizona. It was just all meant to not be successful. Like, we didn't have a break after Ireland. We survive. We have a nail biter versus North Dakota. Okay. We survived it, but did we really think playing a military school after that was a great idea? No, it's a terrible idea. That is the worst thing that you could possibly have had to do. And then a short week after the triple option team. It was doomed from the start. And I'm surprised. What am I saying? I'm surprised that we even ended up 6-6. Like you said, after Arizona, I was not thinking 6-6 at all. There was, in my brain, there was no way. There was no way. We thought we were going to lose to KU this season. That really should be, you know, if we made 6-6 after thinking we were going to lose to KU, I mean, that just tells me that this season is not as bad as we thought, but it's definitely not great, and it's definitely not what we were expecting. in terms of preseason expectations, but we kind of should have saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah. And a lot of us were saying preseason, this is going to be a gauntlet of a schedule to start the year. It's a weird schedule to start the year. And whenever you have a weird schedule, it throws you off balance. It throws you off of your routines and everything that you're used to, especially playing a football game against a rival on a different continent. So, I mean, there are people who, you would be hard pressed to find a large amount of people who travel 8 hours on game day to get to a K-State game when it's in Manhattan, let alone board a flight for 8 hours, 9 hours to get over to Dublin, Ireland for that game. So it's got to throw you off your routine. But we've got a lot of questions about the football team, so I want to get to those with the mailbag. Let's get to the mailbag, and then I'm also gonna I think we've got some rants that we can go down with the basketball side of things as well. But let's just get to the mailbag. So first question is from Ed Helinski. What letter grade do you give K-State football for its record and efforts this season? Which I think segues in perfectly with what we were just talking about. Do you prefer pass fail instead? I think this is kind of a two-part question. I will. If I'm going to give a final letter grade, I mean, 6 and 6, that's like the bare minimum. That's barely passing, right? If you're going to put it in football terms, college football terms, you're bowl eligible. You get to see the postseason. So I would say that's like a C minus. 6 and 6 is kind of a C minus, I would say.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Okay.
I kind of explained it earlier, but yeah, it's C minus. But like you said, I mean, you gave a really good point in terms of expectations. If you were doing, like he said, if you wanted to do pass fail, it's obviously a fail. If you wanted to do a grade based on expectations, I would say you're probably below a C minus, because this team had the ability to be an A+ team, an A to A+ team with what we thought the Big 12 was going to be. We knew it was going to be challenging. I didn't think Utah was nearly as good as they were. They surprised me this year. BYU, they had a weak schedule, but you still should be in that vein. You should be in that conversation with Texas Tech, with BYU, with Utah. We should be up there amongst them, not bottom third of the conference. It's just, that's not how it should have been and not how it should have played out, but it did. So for me, I'm a non-losing season. I can't fail you. You won 6 games. But you should have won more. So you don't get a great passing grade. If I had to put a letter grade on it, it's like you said, C minus, D+. Somewhere in there, I'm going to go there.
And I'm right there with you on that. And I think Scott brought up a great point on Bosco's Boys earlier this week too, where he had a similar question. I think it was this morning on his Q&A, where he said, that Baylor game is really the biggest one that probably haunts you, because realistically, it's any of those conference losses that you have, whether it's Baylor, whether it's Utah, pick your poison. But if you are 3 losses in conference play as opposed to 4 losses in conference play, that's the difference between being tied for 4th and being tied for 8th or 9th or something like that, is something that he said. So I agree with him on that. And I agree with your assessment on like what final letter grade versus pass fail versus expectations versus when you just look holistically at college football, is this pass or fail?
Yeah. And I think to what we were talking about earlier, and you brought up Baylor, that's one of those games that, whoa.
Someone's here we weren't expecting. Hello, Fireball Matt.
Let me hear
everyone.
Hey!
I just wanted to say hello.
That sultry voice.
Despite my shortcomings today.
Welcome.
Yeah. You have such a poignant way of describing such horrific things from football and basketball. So keep going. Keep it going.
Okay. Well, I was saying was, Baylor, that game in particular, because Arizona wasn't a conference game, you had a chance to start off 2-0, and then you beat TCU. You're 3-0. Then you beat Kansas. You're 4-0 in that scenario. I mean, the season is totally different. That Baylor game really does haunt you. Obviously, you get your doors blown off by Texas Tech, but you're in a totally different light, even if you do lose that Texas Tech game.
But the Texas, let's talk about that. So in that scenario, let's say you are 4-0 heading into, you said you're 4-0 heading into Texas Tech in conference play.
Well, you're one loss because of Iowa State. You do have one loss.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, that's a whole different thing too. I mean, you obviously started off 0-1 in conference play, which really did hurt you. But I think that was a totally separate season in terms of mentality. Like you said, it felt like it was in March, but it really was in the last day of August.
But with that Texas Tech game going into halftime, that was 7-12. Like, that is a 1-score game going into halftime. If you're riding this momentum and not this deflated 3-3 team in Big 12 play going into that matchup, and it's 12-7 at halftime, who knows? Maybe you have Dylan Edwards, who seems like a front runner and a bit of a prima donna. Maybe you have Dylan Edwards playing in that matchup, or he decides to give it a go, and you have that electric athlete that we all thought we were going to have this season, but no, he decided to call it quits instead. Maybe you have that. Maybe you're not as deflated. Maybe you're not as injured. Maybe you're not as dejected, and maybe your morale is in a better place going into that Texas Tech game. So maybe it's not 40. Yeah. Maybe it's not 43-20 at the end of it, but yeah, that's the pass fail question. That's the letter grade question. Matt, would you like to give your letter grade for K-State football?
A D.
A D even.
D even. I mean, despite all the expectations and everything from this season, I mean, I won't give it an F. I guess we're going bowling, 6-6. Let's go to the Armed Forces Bowl, or whatever. But, I mean, all around, it was just obviously a very poor season and a lot of different facets of it. You think about the expectations, you think about who you expected your stars to be this season and what we thought they would be, they would accomplish. Just all around, it was very poor. And you look at it from a coaching staff perspective and, getting guys ready to play for games and getting guys ready to play for 4 quarters in a game. It was not necessarily something we saw in maybe any games this year. So I give it a D, just because if you look at it, you look at it as a whole. I'm not saying that 6-6 is, like going to a bowl is like the best thing in the world, like some people might think. I'm also going to say, to have 3 more weeks of practice with these guys, with the potential of some of these young guys. I mean, we think about the bowl game last year, and we got to see a lot of young guys on the field who we thought were going to be making a lot of plays for us this year. Thinking about Zayshawn Rich and, Joe Jackson had a good game and, against Rutgers, and obviously Dylan Edwards had a really good game in that game. But it is an opportunity for growth, improvement the next 3 weeks. And that is something that I think this team can use, as a motivating factor. I think the coaching staff can use that too. I'm not going to call it an F. An F would have been 5-7 and we lose the Colorado game. And it seemed like there were potential opportunities, but I'm going to go D for the football team. Very sad, but is what it is.
Yeah. Next question comes from K Slim. Why is Gene still our acting AD? I will caveat this with he's not the acting AD. He's just the AD.
I guess I just need a little clarification. I'm not really tapped in. Like, I should be more tapped in. I'm not as online as I used to be, probably, and I think that's a good thing. But what's the Gene hate for? Because he's Kleiman's bud, or what?
So I think it's a mix of that and Obviously, there's a lot of vitriol right now after Bowling Green beats K-State men's basketball in Bramlage Coliseum by 16 points last night.
Yeah.
Coach Tang is apparently going back down the same rabbit hole he has been for the last 2 years that I've been very vocal about. Chef, I think you've been very vocal about all the same things. He didn't call timeout until 1 minute and 28 seconds left in the game last night, which is something you've been very, very vocal about for the last couple of years. I think here's the thought process with the Gene hate is, yeah, he's Kleiman's bud. It seems like there may be, it's not necessarily, I don't think nepotism, the dictionary definition of that is necessarily pertinent here, but it's similar in that you hired your bud. You gave Jerome Tang a ridiculously high buyout. Kleiman has a ridiculously high buyout. In a season where both teams seem to be on track, well, K-State football certainly on track to not meet expectations. K-State men's basketball certainly appears to be going down that road yet again for the third season in a row. The thought process here is maybe the issues aren't with what's happening down on the bottom with the coaching staff and the players. It's starting to trickle back up to the CEO, the guy who's running both programs, who all the programs roll into. Ultimately, Gene is the decision maker. He's the one putting together a lot of these contracts. He's the one who's working with the coaches to get stuff figured out. And I believe another thing that people maybe aren't talking about as much, if either President Linton or Gene depart the program, those buyout numbers for Kleiman and Tang go down dramatically. So if Richard Linton decides, hey, I don't like the direction that these things are going in, if you want to be able to save some dollars and reallocate some of the dollars that you would otherwise put towards a buyout for Kleiman or Tang, you get rid of Gene. I don't know what his buyout looks like, but those buyout numbers for Tang and Kleiman go down dramatically if either Linton or Gene depart the program and leave. I think is at least where my head would be at if I'm Richard Linton or a fan that's wanting to affect change.
Okay, I guess I guess I can get on board with why you would want. I mean, financially, that makes a lot of sense. If you get rid of Gene, then you can, work with getting rid of Tang at a fiscal rate that helps. A financial rate that helps. But before this season, I never had an issue with Kleiman at all. I mean, Kleiman obviously is dealing with the same issues that people are probably associating with Gene Taylor, where he's, hiring his buddies, he's leaving them in positions. The coaching staff needs freshened up. But those are all things that are not fireable offenses to me. The production of this season and, that's where you're starting to get it. But before this season, Kleiman wasn't unsuccessful. Obviously, the expectations are higher. Everybody wants to have higher expectations, but you don't reach them all the time. Now, this season is a little bit different than all the other seasons, but I don't think that's on a Gene thing. Now, the basketball part of it, Tang is on a leash that is it's so incredibly tight. It needs severed. Like, we do need to possibly get it away from Jerome Tang, because not only did he have the one successful season that was tied to 2 All-Americans, but he had the whole fiasco with Naquan. He had, then the unsuccessful seasons, and then just
a chore. You had 2 players dismissed in the month of January in consecutive seasons. In December.
It just seems like
started, guys, so it could happen again this year. Who knows?
It just seems like he doesn't have a firm grip on the basketball program as much as I think he does in the football. I think he's more of Gene is more of a football guy. He kind of lets the basketball program and he got rid of Bruce. Bruce was, struggling mightily, and Jerome Tang's on the same path. I just don't know with the buyout thing. So I could see why is Gene our acting AD? I don't know. I don't know. I like Gene myself. I like Gene.
I mean, the last thing that I'll say with this, and obviously he's getting a lot of recent hate for a lot of the reasons you're describing. And the fact of the matter is the programs aren't meeting the expectations of in this era where fans have, in a lot of cases, more of a monetary investment in the team by participating in NIL and things like that. And so there is an expectation that your teams are going to, your teams are going to follow through and do what they need to do to make it to a big bowl game, make it to the NCAA tournament, etc. Am I of the opinion that I think a lot of people, when Jerome Tang got the new contract extension, were freaking out with the fact that he could leave at such a late stage and go to Arkansas, which would completely kill the program's momentum at the time.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of that. A lot of the same people that were freaking out at that time are now freaking out at the fact that we're not seeing success, and you're looking at that buyout figure that he has. That's a pretty extensive number. Like, at the end of the day, it's not something that I think our athletic department is going to be comfortable making a move on this year. And I think a lot of us, even though we look at last year and how poorly last year went, even if we have a year that's similar to last year, this year, he's not going to be gone.
Yeah.
Fact, that's the fact. And so, you know, from a Gene perspective on with this, he's done a lot of good things for our athletic department. You think about how this athletic department has grown since John Curry was here. I think Gene did a really good job from a fundraising perspective, getting, thinking about it outside of the football and basketball spectrums. You know, we have the soccer facility, the soccer stadium, the new volleyball facility. We have a lot of great infrastructure projects that he helped lead for our athletic department. I do think from 5, 6, 8 years ago to now, the entire dynamic of college sports has shifted. And you need an athletic director who is on the same wavelength with those changes and those adjustments that are being made across all of the NCAA. Do I think having somebody who is a little bit more strategic with how we are marketing the department and how we are putting ourselves out there? I do think that. I do think you need to have somebody who is is putting a little bit more of this idea of what NIL and how important NIL is to the forefront for the athletic department to be competitive. And I think there are some people internally, at least from what I've heard, that feel that Gene has not necessarily met that yet. Whether he will, who knows?
Yeah. I just don't know where does that he can grow into that. I think that's it's all new for everybody. I mean, is Gene a forward thinker? I don't know if he is, but this is all new, and I don't think the NIL stuff has been on the back burner at K-State by any means, but we're just not in the we're not the university that's going to be. We don't have a couple billionaire oil barons that are able to, put us up with the level of the Big Ten and the SEC in terms of what we can pay the players outside of what we already promised them with the new agreement. So I'm not sure what more Gene can do. Well, I guess there's somebody out there that is willing to, do more, but I just don't. I'm just not more tapped into what Gene is supposed to be doing as opposed to like what somebody else could do.
My thought process with it is more so around the buyout stuff. If you go back to when Tang's extension was announced, there's an article by Kellis Robinette in the Wichita Eagle and Kansas City Star going back to June 20th, 2024, where Tang's buyout will drop by 50% for the 12 months following any type of departure by his boss. So effectively his current buyout drops from the $5 million per year. I think it's $5 million, then 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye, Matt. Matt's leaving. Adios. See you later. Get
Sorry,
better.
y'all.
Your voice sounds great though.
No, it doesn't.
It's sultry.
Yeah, it is. Woof. And I didn't even get to go to the Colorado game because of this, so it's very sad.
There you go.
But
there you go.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
You too. But yeah, the buyout gets reduced by 50%. So instead of owing, if K-State wanted to make a coaching change, I believe we would have owed 18.7 million back in 2024 if any kind of coaching change was done before 2026. So let's just say that number gets reduced by 50% if Gene Taylor were to leave and be some sort of, he's basically having to be a sacrificial lamb in this scenario of if he feels like what's best for K-State athletics is to get rid of Jerome Tang, he kind of needs to step down in order to save K-State money. And then an interim AD would then make the firing, or they would have another guy lined up to come in and be the AD. But on the Kleiman side of it, it's also interesting. If either Linton or Taylor is no longer employed at K-State, then Kleiman may terminate his contract for just $1 million at any point before his buyout drops to zero. So it's interesting when you think about the Gene Taylor stepping down part of all of this. That tremendously impacts the buyout situation for both coaches, not just Tang, not just Kleiman. It has a tremendous impact on the buyout situation for both coaches, which is just, it's an interesting quirk to all of this. So something to think about with the Gene Taylor chatter or frustration, if you will. At Skojek02, why does K-State suck? I don't really know who this is directed towards. We've already much laid out the football side of it, the basketball side of it we can get into, but yeah, there's a number of reasons. But I think if you listen to the podcast over the course of the last 4 years, you would know why K-State sucks in certain areas and why it doesn't in others.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you want your program to do, you want your programs to do so well, and I got to be reminded that they're 18 to 22-year-old kids, and they're being led by men, but some of it, they're just humans, and I'm not the best at my job, and I know that I have bad days, and theirs just happen to be on, nationally syndicated and nationally broadcast television for everybody to see. And when they're bad, it's so obvious and it's so easy to point at and be like, hey, this is the reason why they're not being more successful. So, man, Jerome Tang has got a dictionary, a pamphlet, of a full folder of reasons why he is not successful at K-State, and some of it maybe my lizard brain telling me that it's simpler than it is, but I can just look at it and say, hey, the buy-in from the team is not there because this, that, or the third. Like, PJ Haggerty's awesome. And I love PJ Haggerty because he was averaging 30 points a game, winning us a lot of games. But when you have a green light special on your team who is an absolute just fire it at will, they can shoot you out of ball games. And I think for this Bowling Green game in particular, when all the other, it's a close game. I mean, we're down 4. They led the entire game, so don't get me wrong. We had no reason to win that game, but there was middle stretches of that game where PJ is just missing shots so blatantly. There's no chance for us to win. It's empty possession after empty possession because he is. I think at one point he was maybe 2 of 14 or something crazy like that, and he was only shooting 50% from the free throw line. Like, we're not going to win if our star player, that's just for any team. I think for any team that is, led by a ball handling, score first guard, if he's off, your whole team is going to be off because we're expecting 24 from you every night, and we need you to at least be efficient with it. When you're not efficient with it, that's empty possessions, and it just so happens that if the refs and PJ's game in particular, if the refs aren't on his side, that it gets ugly real fast. And then Jerome Tang, he does himself no favors by, he's getting back to that roll the ball out there kind of stuff.
Don't even get me started.
Driscoll can only do so much. I don't know. I actually, after the first few games, I haven't seen his touch on the offense really at all. And then the timeout situation, he just lets things snowball, man. I mean, if I had $1 for every time K-State finished a basketball game with 3 timeouts, I'd be a billionaire. So yeah, Jerome Tang, he's not doing himself any favor, but maybe there's a turnaround. Maybe this is just a stretch of cold basketball for PJ Haggerty, where they could get themselves out and they get a couple wins, and then we're back to being okay. That was an oddity, that Bowling Green game.
Yeah. I'll move on now. Mandy Marchesini, shout out to Mandy, Chief Marketing Officer of the Cocaine Willie podcast. Who would you fire after this season, if anyone? I'm going to start with Luke Wells.
Luke Wells, I don't know what he does, so yeah, I could see that. Man, I don't. What's the special teams guy?
That is Nate Katzer.
Nate Katzer's got to go. I think that bringing the Weber boy home is just so obvious. Like, is it Landry? Is it Landry Weber?
Stanton Weber.
Stanton Weber. Who's Landry?
Landry is his brother.
Is his brother. Okay.
Who's currently a Catholic seminarian.
Shout out to God. Yeah, Stanton Weber. Stanton Weber, it's so obvious he needs to be back in doing that. I think even if it's not any better, it feels better. And then, man, oh man, Luke, the Wells brothers, just in general, I just feel like that's the obvious answer. But maybe that's just putting a Band-Aid on something that's, bigger, because if you're not fitting I'm just going to keep harping back to it. I just don't think that we had pipe dreams growing up. Like, man, imagine if we were like an air raid style team. What could be done? How cool would it be if K-State was just throwing the ball 80 times a game? It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't look right. So I think we need to get back to more of that physical style offense and lean into it. I mean, there's got to be some backs out there that is like, oh, I can get 14 carries as a backup, or I could be the bell cow back and I can have 22 carries. Oh, there's a quarterback that's, he might not be able to throw, but he's 6'3", 233 pounds. Oh, I could run it 16 times. Yeah, I'll do that. Why not? So, I mean, something's got to change. I do want Avery back, by the way. As much as, some people don't want that, I want Avery back. I think Avery was, outside of maybe 2 games, I think he was pretty damn good. I think he was pretty good.
He was solid. On the defensive staff, anybody that you would name?
I think Tui would have been my answer like so many years. But I think he's found an identity with the D tackle room that I'm not opposed to keeping Tui. I think he's great. I just think he's not, no one's asking him questions outside of that little stretch in August. No one's talking to Tui. So I like Tui. Buddy, I can't get rid of Buddy. Buddy's a dog. Maybe Steve Stannard, but I like what he's done with Romaine. I mean, my thoughts on Romaine. And I think he's made Desmond Purnell a really good football player. I think he's done fine. Van, don't know.
It might be getting stale. It might be getting stale there because you think about the DBs this season compared to seasons past. The corners
Mind
specifically
you, he's
haven't
just
been
the corners coach. Mind you, he's
right.
just the corners. That's
The corners
still
specifically have been brutal this season.
they weren't the best.
The eye discipline stuff with the
They're
Army
young though.
game.
That's the one thing. They are young, and I think they started playing Fortenberry too late in the season. I don't know what was going on with him. I think Fortenberry was probably the best corner the last 3 or 4 games. Dang, man, it's tough to see that defense. We're so familiar with all these guys. It's like firing Van Malone, getting rid of Van Malone. That sounds crazy.
I mean, it'd be like firing Mo Lattimore at this point. Dude spent like 40 years at Kansas State. It's like, dude, wait. I remember looking at those programs in the 2010s, and I'm like, Mo Lattimore, like he's been here before Snyder was here. Like, why would he even retain someone from any of those previous staffs? Oh my God, Gary Parrish, like the Gary Parrish era is just weird. Players. So Mandy's next question: players that you think should stay or leave.
Oof. I think obviously we've got to retain some of the core offensive guys. I think you need Avery back. I think if you can get Jace to somehow come back,
yes,
that would be amazing. Lincoln Cure. I think they need to invest more into Lincoln Cure. Garrett Oakley. Why not? I mean, I'm not opposed to Garrett. He had some crazy drops. I think some of the most insane drops of the season were due to a lot of the tight ends. And a little bit it's on Avery. I mean, he throws absolute 90-mile-per-hour fastballs all the time. Maybe simmer that down a little bit. But Garrett Oakley, the tight end room in general, maybe Lofton can go. Swanee's gone, obviously. Ancio's not as good as I thought he was going to be. Ooh, the O-line. Who's our O-line coach?
That is Brian LePack.
Oh, LePack. That's right.
The Wonder
Rough
King.
season. Rough season. Rough season. Nobody on the offensive line screams that they need to be back. Vass. I like Vass at guard. He was a bright spot. I did not expect that.
That story.
He was all right. I mean, a lot of it's going to be a lot of your mistakes at offensive tackle in terms of pass pro is made up by Avery Johnson's ability to get out. If you don't have the athlete of Avery Johnson back there, I think our offensive line in pass pro looked a lot worse than the stats show. Obviously, Sam Hecht. No, but he's gone. He's a senior.
He gone.
He gone. So we're going to be replacing a good little chunk of that O-line.
Yep.
Langang gone. Poitier gone. Heck gone. Yeah, man. I mean, and then Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson is serviceable. Is he a number one? Was he not healthy at the beginning of the season? Did they just not believe in him because they were trying to feed Dylan Edwards, who eventually was going to leave anyway? So it was all for naught. Maybe Joe Jackson could have been a bright spot in this offense. He looked rough at the beginning of the season. I owe Joe Jackson an apology because I was dog walking him at the beginning of the season.
I'd like to invest. I'd like to invest in him. I feel like if you can bring him up to the level that we saw, it doesn't have to be Utah game level good, but Colorado game level good. If you can bring him up to that as an average, as an expectation, I think that's solid.
I think like a 90 game, give me 17 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown every game. I mean, that's awesome. I think that's great potential. Mind you, I think we need to bring in fresher backs. I think we need to bring in more talent in that backfield. We obviously saw JB Price hit the transfer portal. It's just trying to share the load at running back is one of those things that it's a sweet science. It is a sweet science, and I don't know if a lot of if this staff can do it. I mean, I like Brian Anderson, but from what we've seen from Mr. Anderson himself, when they came over from North Dakota State, we were saying, oh, they're going to have a bevy of backs. They're going to, and outside of that first season when you had Brown and Gilbert and Harry Trotter and all them, they really have been a solo kind of backfield. One guy has been getting the carry. So I don't know if they don't have a proven track record at K-State of bringing in multiple guys and using them to their best abilities. So, because you had a guy like Joe Jackson who obviously showed that he can get it done, and they just never gave him reps because they were trying to give somebody else that.
Well, and to be fair too, well, I you're right. You're right. I mean, we did have the season where we brought in Trayshawn Ward, and there were a couple of games where he popped off. I
Yes,
think against
you're right.
UCF in that first
right.
season that they were in the conference, there was at least one or two games where they were going back and forth, maybe not every other snap, but they were definitely mixing it up a lot more. But yeah, I agree with all those players staying. If you can keep Romaine around, if you can keep some of the guys on
Davis, Toby, depending on how bad
yeah.
his injury. I think his was an upper body injury, so I'm not too concerned about that.
I was going to say Romaine and the edges are really
Romaine,
the guys.
I would like to see, I mean, really nobody from the corners, nothing really lit up. So yeah, I think it is the edge. Like you said, it's the edges in Romaine. And Romaine is a specialty kind of player. So if you don't have him in the right situations, he's not going to look as good as you'd want him to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we saw at the beginning of the season. Next question from Mail Order McBride, Garrett McBride, pride of Hugoton, Kansas. Did Ron Prince ever get in trouble for setting up that fake business with the old K-State president? I believe yes, but I think K-State actually settled it with him. And I was looking up an old article. K-State has a press release from 2000. Oh, Kenny Lanou. Shout out to Kenny Lanou. He's never going to have us on his never going to allow us to have anybody from the athletic department come on the show. May 2009 press release, $1.65 million lump sum got paid out to Ron Prince. K-State incurred a total of $395,000 in outside legal fees during the process. So it looks like Prince never got in any trouble. Prince never engaged in any wrongful or unethical conduct. Discovery has demonstrated that the situation was not of Coach Prince's making. So that fell entirely on, what was the name of the guy who was the athletic director at the time prior to Curry? Robert Kraus. Yep, that was all on Robert Kraus. So the answer is no. Ron Prince never got in trouble because apparently he had no wrongdoing there. Next question from Travis Clones. Outside of one game per year, is Iowa State and K-State having football success mutually exclusive?
I mean, what did Iowa State do? What was their record end up being this year?
7-5.
God damn. I hate it. I don't know.
Right? They're 7-5, I think.
Yeah. I don't want to be tied to Iowa State at all, though. I hate it.
No, they're 8-4. They finished
8-4.
Yeah, but it was dicey. They almost freaking blew it against Oklahoma State too.
I don't know, man. God, that 6-6 season
But they tied with us in the Big 12 standings.
It is great. That is crazy. How our non-con really shelled us, bad this year. We lost every one of our. Well, no, we won one non-con game this season. One non-con game. That is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. I can't believe it. All right, last question for the mailbag. It comes from my father. Todd asks, I've been a K-State fan for decades. I must say that in past years, coaches pretty much made decisions late in the game that any football enthusiast would agree with. This year, there's been at least 10 or 12 occasions where decisions made late in the game were not only head-scratching, but so opposite of what the consensus would do in these situations. It sounds to me like these decisions are mostly made by Matt Wells, and these decisions, in my opinion, cost us at least 3 wins which is the difference between mediocrity and being above average. Does this sound like anything I've said in the past 59 minutes? It's almost like we're related. That said, is there any hope that Matt Wells will be sent packing? I think the answer to that is very small percentage chance that he gets sent packing. I think Kleiman and the staff are going to value more so having consistency at offensive coordinator and not having Avery move on to his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 seasons at K-State. I think they're going to value that over some of the idiosyncrasies that maybe Matt Wells has in situational play calling that I think are things can be fixed, that at least can be, let's say maybe Kleiman has a talking to with Matt Wells about in the offseason, but who knows? I think to answer the question, I think there's no hope that Matt Wells will be sent packing, but I don't necessarily agree that that's even the right path to go down because I value the fact that he's going to have some consistency for Avery at offensive coordinator. And if we want to keep Avery around, if that means keeping Matt Wells around, I'd rather keep Avery and have Matt Wells and maybe have some of the baggage that comes along with that for the time being than not.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I brought that up at the beginning of the season with Avery Johnson. When we had the talk, this was before we even hired Matt Wells. The talk
this was in January.
Getting rid of Connor Riley, or not getting rid of him. He moved on, but I mean, just having Avery Johnson with a third offensive coordinator in 3 years was, man, what? How is this guy ever going to develop? And now, if we even think about getting rid of Matt Wells, that'd be 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. The messaging just isn't there, and that stunts players' growth. And I would imagine that's one of the things that, I mean, even if Avery Johnson was to transfer, I mean, that's 4 offensive coordinators and a totally new system now.
Yeah.
So, I think Avery Johnson, for his benefit, whether he's an NFL caliber guy or not, you want to keep Matt Wells, let him get his vision out there. Obviously, it wasn't a successful one, and maybe I don't agree with how he's, moving this offense, but I'm not an offensive coordinator, and I don't know nearly as much football about than him. And the late game stuff, your dad is absolutely correct. Man, oh man, there are some blunders that happen, and we can armchair quarterback it to we're blue in the face, but some of it's just obvious. Some of it is just time management stuff, conversion stuff. God Almighty, you're winning the game. Why are we going for 2 to go up 14? Some of this stuff is just bananas. I know the analytics say one thing, but let's play some football here, brother.
The Texas Tech game where you go for it on 4th down on a 4th and 10, but then don't go for it on a 4th and 2, and you punt it away. Like that kind of stuff too. Even not in late games, there's still decisions in situational football that's just like, if it's almost just lacks consistency, I think is the best way to put it, where you wonder, it's not even analytics if there's no consistency to it. So it's
true.
It's a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher.
You want, if you're going to be that 4th down team that, consistently goes for it, or a team that's very conservative the other way, you want your guy to be either Dan Campbell or I don't even know who the most conservative coach there is, but
Bill Snyder. I don't know, man.
You want to be that. You don't want to be wishy-washy, because then it leads to, you don't know what your identity, what you're going to do in a certain situation, because now you're less up in the air. You're going with the wind. You're blowing. If the wind's right, you might be going for it. If it's not, you don't want to be that. You want to be like, hey, 4th and 6, or if it's, I love some of those. Some of those calls, like it's 3rd and 7 and we run the ball. I love that. That just screams, hey, we're going for it. But then you don't go for it. Okay. Now we're getting into that inconsistency part. What was the vision? What was the vision with running the ball there? Some of those things do eat at me, but I think you grow. I mean, when was the last time that Matt Wells called plays?
About 10 years ago, I think. Right.
So you got to think he's getting back in the saddle too. So I hate to think that this was, a growing year for Matt Wells, but maybe it was. So I'm all for bringing Matt Wells back. But I mean, what's his leash like then? These are all questions that you have to ask. What is his leash like? What's his recruiting like? Because he is the quarterback coach, and his most recent commitment at quarterback is a left-handed underarm thrower. So maybe he is gonna be the truth. But as of right now, I'm not holding my breath on what's his name?
Miles Tedecki.
Miles Tedecki. I'm not holding my breath on that. And that is Matt Wells' first recruit as K-State's offensive quarterback coach guru. So I'm going to give him some grace, but it's not looking positive.
I think he was also involved in Dylan Duff, if I'm not mistaken, but he was not the primary OC when that happened. He was co-OC. So, yeah. Oh, apples in order, whatever. We are over an hour. We're not going to get to locks. I think we're just going to do a separate locks pod, record it independently, and we'll get you that stuff because we want to make sure that you get your locks. We want to make sure you get that stuff.
What is my record in locks, by the way?
You're still in last place, but the margin is close, brother. The margin is close. You're 2 games back from me, and I am 9 games back from that. So things are looking bad. Things are looking bad. But hey, if I run the table this weekend, I can close that gap. We'll see. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Any final words, Chef, before we get out of here?
Man, I love you boys. It's been fun. It's been a hell of a season, and we still got more to go before the Cocaine Willie season is over. Hopefully we have more positive stuff to talk about, because even last year we had women's basketball to lean on a little bit. Not looking good this season. I don't know what we're gonna do for content, but I'm having fun. And I hope that we get a great bowl, and maybe this is an off season for maybe some drama. I like it. I love a little drama.
Ooh, a little dramatics happening. And hey, we are officially a women's volleyball podcast from this point forward. K-State women are playing San Diego. That's the University of San Diego. The Toreros. I've got a good friend, Brandon Smith, who went to school there. Toreros playing December 5th. That's going to be this Friday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to check them out. Watch them wherever you watch your volleyball. And they're in the Nebraska Regional. So have fun with that one, because Nebraska is I think the number 1 team in the country. So shout out to the Cats for having to go through that regional. But that's going to do it for us tonight. We are the Cocaine Willie podcast. Follow us at Cocaine Willie. Shout out to our sponsor, Auntie May's Parlor. Maybe they fixed their website. Let's see. Maybe not. Yes, it is fixed. If you're listening to this, the website is fixed. 35th Christmas lighting with the Dirty Spoons, Thursday, December 4th. Be there or don't be there. And we are the College Huddle representative for K-State at College Huddle on social media. Website is thecollegehuddle.com. Follow the show at Cocaine Willie. Follow me individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all coke. And no joke. We are all coke and no joke. And Kalani Satake is still at BYU. Wildcat country.
Joey McGuire still Red Raider.